Welcome to the ANU School of Music. It's a great pleasure to have you with us tonight for this sort of sold-out event in our rather new performance space. A lot of you might recognise this has changed significantly since last time you were here. It's been completely remodelled and acoustically enhanced. So it's wonderful to be able to have a concert here, one of our collaborations with the Austrian Embassy, and it's a great pleasure to welcome His Excellency Hannes Eporius here tonight, the Austrian Ambassador, who we've worked very, very closely with now for the last couple of years and had some wonderful collaborative projects, which is a really important thing for the School of Music, because I think that we're a small, but I would say we're a school that aspires to excellence, and we're very agile and fleet-footed, and we're always looking for exciting and interesting partnerships to enhance the opportunities for our students, both in terms of their educational programs and their research programs. ANU, being one of the leading research universities in the world, is always interested in how the research we do can inform the educational opportunities for our students. This is something very special for us. And this has been a wonderful relationship with the Austrian Embassy in being able to present a whole series of concerts over the last couple of years. Tonight, we're delighted to have Shmuel Barzilai here and Tim Bonyhady as well from the ANU. I'll give you a little bit of background about both our artists tonight, and then Shmuel will actually introduce the works himself when he comes on. And the idea will be Shmuel will sing for about 20 minutes, and then Tim will come up and talk and do a presentation, and then Shmuel will do some more performing at the end. Give a bit of background about Shmuel Barzilai. He was born in Jerusalem in a family of renowned cantors. He graduated from the Institute of Music and Cantoral Singing in Tel Aviv and studied with world-famous cantors like Moshe Stern. The cantoral repertoire of Cantor Barzilai connects his listeners with the rich cultural and musical tradition of the Jews of Eastern Europe. Tim Bonyhady is an art historian and environmental lawyer, a former curator at the National Gallery of Australia. He is currently director of the Australian Centre for Environmental Law at the Australian National University. His many books include Places Worth Keeping, Conversationalists, Politics and Law, and the prize-winning The Colonial Earth. The aim of the event tonight is to provide the audience with a picture of Viennese life and culture at the beginning of the 20th century. Books and CDs will be available for sale and signing at the end of the evening, just at the back. So I think we're in for a very special evening indeed, and also delighted that James Huntingford, one of our pianists, has also benefited enormously from the support of the Austrian Embassy in studying in Vienna, will be accompanying the cantor tonight. So I think we're in for a great treat. So without further ado, I welcome Shmuel to stage to sing our first bracket for you. Thank you very much.
Oh Und hört von sein Hasen an andere Mine Kippur bei Nacht geht herein in die Schuhe. Wird ihr Reden dem Hasen singen. ונתת שלום, שלום בארץ, ושמחת עולם ליושביה.
Good evening. I'm Bonyhady, and I've been asked to talk tonight because of my book, Good Living Street, The Fortunes of My Viennese Family, which came out at the beginning of May. It's a book which really runs from the late 19th century up to a few years ago. It's a book which starts in within the Czech Crown lands in Moravia and Silesia, and goes through Vienna. Most of the book is in Vienna, and then to Australia. And it's a book which is about my great-grandmother Hermina, my grandmother Gretel, and my mother Anne. And the family, the Gallias, are best known because they were one of the major patron families of Vienna 1900. So they were patrons of Gustav, Klimt and other artists of the secession, and they were equally major patrons of Josef, Hoffmann and the Wiener Werkstätte. And my great-grandfather Moritz, until his death in 1918, was chairman of the Wiener Werkstätte. And the book, I guess the major themes of the book are art and broader sort of theatre and music and religion and identity and economics and politics, and these things are all wrapped up together in the book. And tonight I've had to unravel them a bit, and I thought, given the nature of the occasion, that what I should talk about was something of the family's religious and musical journeys, both of which are key elements of Good Living Street and are particularly pertinent given the Cantor's performance tonight. And this is all drawn from the book, and the final part of what I'm going to do is a bit more like a reading from the book. My great-grandparents, Moritz and Hermina Gallia, came to Vienna in the early 1890s. They were part of the big Jewish influx, prompted by the reforms of the Emperor Franz Josef, that saw Vienna go from being a city almost without Jews in 1848 to a city where 10% of the population were Jewish. Moritz and Hermina were married in 1893 in Cantor Barzilai's synagogue, the main synagogue in Vienna. When Moritz and Hermina's 4 children, my grandmother Gretel, her brother Ernie, and her twin sisters Gerda and Lena, were born between 1896 and 1899, they all became members of Vienna's Israelitische Kultusgemeinde, its Jewish community. The Gallias arrived in Vienna as the city was moving from a period of unprecedented tolerance of Jews in the 1870s and 1880s to much greater anti-Semitism in the 1890s, both fuelled and personified by Vienna's populist mayor Karl Lueger. "I decide who a Jew is," Lueger notoriously declared. "We in Vienna are anti-Semites," Lueger also observed, as if it were an uncontroversial, acceptable matter of fact. As this anti-Semitism grew, a significant number of Jews left the Kultusgemeinde. Many did so at least partly for pragmatic reasons, captured in the contemporary term, the Karrieretaufe, or career baptism. Others did so at least partly because of genuine attachment to Christianity. And it was not uncommon for parents to start with their children in the hope that they, or at least their grandchildren, would encounter reduced anti-Semitism. Moritz and Hermina, my great-grandparents, were among them. While Hermina had a strong attachment to Catholicism as a result of her education by nuns when she was a small girl in the Silesian town of Freudenthal, Moritz's attachment remained Jewish, as demonstrated by how, when he died, even though he died a Catholic and his funeral service was held in Vienna's great Karlskirche, his charitable donations, his charitable bequests, were all to Jewish organisations rather than Catholic ones. Moritz and Hermina began by having their children baptised, starting with Ernie when he was 6 in 1902, followed by the 3 girls in 1903, when Gretel was 4 and the twins were 6. When Gretel was 6 and the twins were 4. That meant that when Hermina had her portrait painted by Klimt in 1903, a painting now owned by the National Gallery in London, but temporarily in Melbourne for the Vienna Art and Design Exhibition at the National Gallery of Victoria, Hermina and Moritz remained Jews, but their 4 children were all Catholic. As Jews, Hermina and Moritz were responsible not only for the children's introduction into the Catholic Church, but also their progress through it, including their first communions and confirmations. And that was the case until 1910, when Hermina and Moritz converted, when she was 40 and he was 52. And the Gulliers became a family of one religion for the first time in 8 years. Gretel's diaries suggest the family handled these complications with ease. The 11-year-old Gretel recorded that when she had her first communion in 1908, she was overcome by emotion at receiving the body of her Lord for the first time and wondered whether she could be as happy again. Moritz and Hermina gave her a celebratory drink of vanilla liqueur. She declared it the most beautiful day of her life. Yet other members of the family did not find things so easy. One was Gretel's uncle Adolf, who after also converting from Judaism to Catholicism, reverted before his death to Judaism. And then there was Adolf's wife Ida, who went on this religious journey with Adolf, moving from Judaism to Catholicism and then back to Judaism as a loyal wife, only to return to Catholicism following Adolf's death, only to join Adolf in death in the family grave in the Jewish cemetery in Beesens in Moravia. A pretty complex journey. None of these changes, of course, made any difference to the Nazis. And when they invaded Austria in March 1938, my grandmother Gretel, great-aunt Kath and mother Anne were not only lucky to flee, but also lucky to be able to bring with them much of the family's collection of secessionist paintings, including the Klimt portrait of Hermina, and much of their Hoffmann and Wiener Werkstätte collection. This collection was the best private collection of Austrian art and design to escape the Nazis, and for a bit over 30 years it was in a small flat in Cremorne. But having arrived here, my mother was intent on us hiding our Jewish origins. so that we, my mother, my brother who was here, and I, might escape any resurgence of anti-Semitism. And so we didn't talk about our origins, and I also grew up ignorant of things Jewish. It was not only that I was raised an atheist who had never been to synagogue and knew nothing of the Talmud, but also that I was almost completely removed from Jewish culture. When I first met Claire Young, my partner for 20 years, I had no idea what she meant when she described herself as a shiksa. Writing this book has changed much for me. I'll just recount one episode from 2005, which occurred on one of several trips I made to Vienna in search of material. The focus of this episode is, given the occasion tonight, musical as well as religious. The key context is that, like many assimilated Viennese Jews and then converts to Christianity, my great-grandparents Moritz and Hermina loved the work of Richard Wagner. So also, for example, did the creator of Zionism, Theodor Herzl, who first formulated his ideas for a Jewish state after being exalted by a performance of Wagner's Tannhäuser. Viennese Jews such as Herzl and my great-grandparents embraced Wagner, notwithstanding his rampant anti-Semitism, which he made public in some of his most widely read essays such as Judaism in Music and What is German, and saw him declare that Jews had to cease to be Jews and could only be redeemed by their Untergang, or going under. By 1900, Moritz and Hermina had been to at least 6 of Wagner's operas and were beginning to return to them. While they never attended a complete performance of Wagner's Ring Cycle, they once saw 4 of his operas in 8 days. They also went twice to the ultimate Wagner Shrine by Reut. Moritz's favourite was Die Meistersinger von Nürnberg, which Hermina and he saw at least 10 times. It would become the work that Hitler had performed on his most important political occasions. Its chorale, Wach auf, or Awake, would become one of the Nazis' most resounding calls to arms. In 1937, Goebbels credited Wagner with teaching Germans that Jews were a subhuman race. That is the background for 2005, when I arrived in Vienna, picked up the week's opera and theatre programme, and found a performance of Wagner's Lohengrin particularly tempting. While Anne had turned my brother Bruce and me into avid opera goers on our first trip to Europe in 1971, Wagner was a notable exception. Whereas we went to all of Mozart's major operas and most of those by Verdi, the only Wagner that we saw was Tristan und Isolde in West Berlin, where Anne found the 5-hour performance interminably long, the plot inane, and the singers offensively Aryan. This is from her diary. In the 34 years since, I had seen none of Wagner's work, which I had come to regard as irredeemably tainted by anti-Semitism. But I knew it would be good for my writing of Good Living Street if I went, and had direct experience of one of Wagner's major operas as performed in Vienna. A day later, I spotted an alternative. While Lohengrin was at the opera, the Kultusgemeinde was presenting a cantor concert in the main synagogue, Cantor Barzilai synagogue, to mark the 60th anniversary of the Befreiung, or liberation from the Nazis, the liberation of the Jews from the Nazis in 1945. If I went to this concert, it would be my first experience of Jewish music. It would be the first occasion, other than a sightseeing tour, when I would attend the synagogue where Moritz and Hermina had been married over 110 years before. It would be an opportunity to join in the commemoration of the destruction and the celebration of the survival of Vienna's Jewish community. I chose the synagogue. The Cantor concert was on 8 December, the feast of the Immaculate Conception of the Virgin Mary by St. Anne, a public holiday in Vienna, which meant all libraries and archives, which were my prime destination while I was there. All the libraries and archives were closed, and so I had to do other things. I spent part of the day visiting the grave of Moritz and Hermina in the Catholic section of Vienna's Hietzing Cemetery. I went there intending partly to light candles for them, as my brother had done a year before, but failed to do so, and so decided instead to light candles that night in St. Stephen's Cathedral on my way to the synagogue. As I was early, I stopped at the Jewish Museum to have another look at its fabulous Mahler exhibition, Gustav Mahler exhibition. Something one could do, as I did that night, with an audio with the early 1900s recording of Mahler performing his own piano transcription of the first movement of his Fifth Symphony playing in my ears. I then walked to St. Stephen's, dipped my hand in the holy water, as I'd learnt to do on my first European trip in 1971, made the sign of the cross, bought the candles, and sat before them without praying. I continued to the synagogue, where I was accustomed to finding police at both the bottom and the top of the street to reduce the risk of attack. I expected that, as usual, I would have to show my passport and go through metal detectors to gain access to the building. That night there were more police than ever, in case anyone thought to target the crowd queuing outside on the cobblestone street. The questioning from the synagogue security guards was unusually intense. How had I come to hear about the concert, they asked. Whom did I know in Vienna's Jewish community? Why was I there? I should have struck up a conversation while waiting outside or sitting in the synagogue. I could have explained my connection to the Stadttemple and this celebration. I might have discovered why my neighbours were there. I sat in the synagogue gazing up at the sky blue dome dotted with golden stars. I found my German stretched by speeches that dwelt on the latest developments in payment of Holocaust restitution by the Austrian government. I listened to the cantors and wondered whether, as Wagner had argued, there was a distinctively Jewish voice. I felt no sense of community, but was glad that I had chosen the synagogue over Wagner and the opera. I found everything transformed at interval. Instead of the only access being through metal detectors, all the doors on the street were thrown open, so members of the crowd could go outside to smoke, just as they would do at the opera. While the absence of controls made a mockery of the security before the concert, it was a relief to see the community displaying no fear, acting like any other, enjoying a freedom befitting the 60th anniversary of the Befreiung. Thank you.
Es gibt nicht besser Feier, wollt sie gelaufen fahren, nicht alt, nicht teuer, das ist gewiss die größte Sinn. Ewig, glücklich und reich ist der Mensch, was hat, als ein schöner Maton, ein Geschenk von Gott. Nur an Altitschke, Jiddisch, Mama, 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 Mama. Eine jiddische Mama. Es gibt dich besser auf der ganzen Welt. Eine jiddische Mama. Wie bitter, wenn sie fällt. Schön und lichtig ist in uns. Die Mama ist da. Wie treurig finster, wenn Gott nimmt sie auf verloren. In der Wasser, in der Feier, wollt sie gelaufen fahren. Nicht Hand, nicht teuer, das ist gewiss die größte sind. Ewig, glücklich und reich ist der Mensch, was hat, als ein schöner Matone, Geschenk von Gott. Nur an Altitschke, Jiddisch, Wenn die Yomim Leroyim sehnen nicht weit, gibt Yerid auf Chazonim. Man lässt die Annons die ganze Zeit, von Vereinen und von Schulen und Millionen. Ach, verlangt man, soll haben Akkord, Stimme, Voice. Aber muss auch zu Damen Gorina. Und euch in ein Theater vor 50 Cent Tag. Man darf zu einem Teufel, a viele in a Schau. Man lässt die Chazonim auf a Feier, sie reißen die Goglen zu Gefällen, was mehr. Es kommen bald euch Cantors von Wien, a viele Jazzingers, singen a Kehl eure Dien. Oder kommt an Altitschker bald zu halten a Probe Farko und zu halt mit Geruhs Kavon und wie hinter alter Heim Amor. Und der Chamber schaut bei Teust. Es ist nicht, was die Publik will. Und kommt ein Cantor von Wien, klappt der Kammertor. Und von einem kleinen Deutsch-Sieder singen Eibter und Adau Shem, Adau Shem, Kile Rafum, Mechanun, Erechapai, Erafes, 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 Not Erafes, Você avon, a fecha. Die Members, alle jungen Leute, Schuschken sagen still. Und der Chamber stand bei Teust, es ist nicht, was die Publik will. Next! Ein junger Mann von einer anderen Klasse, gut gehen, wie geht, und darf sein. Gib mach, Moshe, mach das, Helkoi, is mach Moshe, mach das, Moshe, ותרקוד ונקרא את נסע וחץ הכל חזר מלך שמה נקרא המולה שמעלה ותרקוד ונקרא ואת נסע וחץ הכל חזר מלך שמה נקרא ואחרי תכרות הכל לבדו והוא היה, והוא עובד, והוא יהיה ותפארה הנעלה של המעלה ותלכון לצדיקה ותנסה ותצדקה חזר ושמו נקרא בידו אפקיד רוחי בעת אישה ואירה ועם רוחי גווייתי אשר לי